Welcome to another episode of the Learns Media and Tech Show. My name is Colin. Hey, did you watch our previous episodes where we were reviewing other video gears and showing you tips? Well, today we are going to show you another piece of gear that I think we really like to use for some of our clients to make them look really good. So now let's take a look at what the RS2 can do and some of the tech features. Okay, so it comes in a very nice box like this, okay, where we get two compartments. So at the very top we have all the tripod stand, the battery grips, and a couple of things that we will need later, such as the phone holder. Okay, and this will be the plates, the Manfrotto, and I believe this is what they call the Arca Swiss plates, okay, for the camera, as well as a secondary briefcase handle. Because we got the Pro version, okay, so it comes with a lot more accessories, such as the focus motor, which works off a thread. Over at the second tier of the bag, okay, we have the main gimbal itself, plus all the necessary cables down here. How you can recognize this RS2 is with all these red stripes down here, and obviously the branding RS2 down here. And the RS2 is actually a very lightweight gimbal, because these parts, okay, just the main supports down here, if you can see all the red bars and a close-up, is actually made of carbon fiber. This is real carbon fiber, by the way. It's not so some, you know, like a stick-ons, right? So that makes the weights a lot lighter. Okay, so this is how the whole gear looks like. Okay, and typically how they do it is they lock it in this fashion. So the camera in this case is the Nikon Z6. It's been set up onto the RS2 already. What we need to do next is to connect up the cables and then just balance it. Alright? Because it's a relatively newer and mirrorless camera, we can actually skip a lot of things that are to be set up. For example, the focus motor. Why is because the camera and the gimbal can communicate to do autofocus on its own. Okay, and can draw focus from the camera right into the gimbal itself. So now it's all hooked up. The next step would be to balance it. So the next step will be to power it on after it is balanced already, to calibrate it. As you can see, the RS2 has a 1.4-inch screen here, which is touch sensitive, and we can do quite a number of things down here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is to do the calibration. The gimbal we can control via the joystick here for all the movements, so that's the basic. Okay, bear in mind that the camera is not on yet. Okay, and we can do other fanciful stuff that will allow the camera to stay upright if we want to. Let me introduce you to another piece of gear. Attached to the gimbal, if you can see this little piece of equipment down here, is called a RavenEye. So the RavenEye essentially connects to the camera via HDMI, and whatever the camera is seeing, hello, okay, you will be able to see it on an external device wirelessly. Okay, so in this case we have hooked up to a phone down here. So another trick for the RS2, well, more like a party trick if you will, is this. On the phone, which is externally connected to the RavenEye, you can do things like a force mobile. Now, what is a force mobile? Okay, so if I switch it on and you look at the camera itself on the gimbal, okay, I can do a party trick like this. Whatever that I'm doing on my camera, the gimbal reacts to it accordingly. Okay, so Amira, say hi. Now the DJI RS2 is a professional grade gimbal. By itself, it is really like the whole setup without the camera weighs about 1.4 kilograms. In terms of payload, meaning to say the equipment it can carry on top without the motor struggling, it can go to about 4.5 kilograms. So this gimbal is really designed for the big monster cameras down there, like the Black Magic and the Red Dragons, Nikon D5 series. So what else can the RS2 do? Okay, so it can do fanciful stuff like time-lapse, hyperlapse, and even what we call a barrel roll of the camera to let you have those funky 360 roll kind of effects. So with all those things in, we will be able to produce effects that normally will not be able to get in static cameras like what are shooting right now in front of me, even with handphone gimbals as well as the pocket cameras. So let me now show you what this RS2 paired with the Nikon Z6 Mark II in the right hands can produce. So first, we can see here one of the more normal walking and talking shots that we have done for myself here. And Amira is carrying the gimbal, and this is the effect that you can see. The background is blurred, the foreground, which is me, is very clear. Now here's another example of a walking and talking track in which we focus on the subject walking out from his car into a stationary position, and he starts to talk his talk track. Now a third example would be this, where we were shooting another car from our own car, and if we are to use another normal camera without a gimbal, we'll get very shaky shots. Now even if we use a handphone mounted on a gimbal, or in fact the pocket camera from DJI, because of the dark environment, the outputs you see will be very grainy, very noisy as we call it. And so on professional camera like the Z6 Mark II, you will be able to see that the quality output is a lot clearer. Of course, if we want to do fanciful work, we can produce things like what you're seeing here, which is a time lapse of us setting up for our shoots, or one of these time lapse that we are doing for a client shoot. So the DJI RS2 really have all the bells and whistles, and one thing I forgot to mention just now is really the battery life, advertised as 12 hours on a single charge down here. For us, I think Amira, myself, Clara, we have used this for an entire day shoot without any problems. We never really tested the 12 hours limits, but an entire day shoot, 6 hours, 7 hours, no issues at all. But we do have some gripes with this as well. Okay, so as well, as light as what it is advertised to be, I'm in fact struggling to just hold this with one hand, because by itself it is 1.4 kilos. You add on a 2 kilos, 2.5 kilos of payload on the gimbal itself, and you add accessories like your phone, and then one more briefcase, external grip, and so on, you are looking at 4 kilos of weight down here. Now, 4 kilos might not sound a lot, but if you are holding it for 10 minutes at one go, it is going to be really testing your biceps strength. Okay, so that's one major gripe we have with it. Another gripe that we have for the RS2 is what you see down here, which is essentially how complex it looks. So to set up the whole thing, plus plugging in all the cables down here and to make sure that everything works, we'll need a minimum of about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, and that's when we are really used to getting this gimbal working right. Now 10 to 15 minutes may not sound like a lot of time, but if you only have that moment to capture, there is no way for you to spend that amount of time for it. So in this case, I think a quick power up of your handphone, like what we use in our iPhone 12 Pro Max, may cut it a lot better. So all in all, what do you think of the DJI RS2 Gimbal? Do you think it's a must-have accessory for you? Let us know in the comments below. So this is another episode of the Learns Media and Tech Show. If you like this, please subscribe, follow us, and give us a thumbs up. My name is Colin. Until the next show, why be different when you can be different? See you soon. Bye.